Omaha Police Department conducted a traffic stop at 27th and Harrison. During the traffic stop, they encountered a male party that they'd asked to exit the vehicle, and initially the party refused to exit the vehicle. The party then exited the vehicle, and once he did, officers observed a weapon and announced the weapon, and a struggle ensued. During that struggle, one of the officers discharged his firearm, and the suspect was struck. He was transported to the hospital, where he later died of his injuries. No officers were injured during this incident. The vehicle was occupied by 3 other females that are currently being interviewed. This can be investigated by the officer involved in the investigation team in conjunction with the Nebraska State Patrol. There are nobody else that's outstanding. There were no other injuries during the incident.
All cops are bastards! All cops are bastards! All cops are bastards!
All right, gang, I do have a Monday morning editorial for you, and I'm going to talk about the shooting that occurred in Omaha, Nebraska on Thursday night, which resulted in a few nights of protest over the fatal shooting of that man by police. Now, I'm not saying that the police, in essence, were wrong here. I'm still kind of looking into it. But apparently, on Thursday night, a black man was fatally shot by police, and again, it resulted in a few nights of protest. If you've seen some of the news clips here at the beginning of this, we're going to talk about it right now. Thank you to NBC News for this story. Protests erupted in Omaha, Nebraska on Friday and Saturday after city police fatally shot a black man. Omaha police killed Kenneth Jones, 35, on Thursday night while responding to a traffic stop. Police spotted a car with 4 people inside stopped in the middle of the road without its hazard lights on, they said in statements on Friday and Saturday. The 2 officers involved in the stop, Dan Faulkner and Richard Martier, instructed all the people in the vehicle to put their hands up, police said, citing interviews with the officers and body camera footage not reviewed by NBC News. The officers made the command as they walked to the vehicle. Faulkner and Martier could not immediately be reached for comment on Sunday. Omaha police said in a Friday statement that the other 3 passengers complied with the order, but Jones did not, and the officers then used a flashlight to break the car window and open the door closest to Jones, who was not driving. Police said footage shows the 2 officers struggling to get Jones out of the car. During the struggle, police claimed to have seen a gun on Jones and fired 4 shots at him. Police did not specify which officer fired the fatal shots and said they would be providing more details at a Monday press conference. That'll be later today. Police said the officers involved in the incident found a gun directly underneath Jones after they shot him. Police said after shooting Jones, the officers yelled for him to show his hands, even though he had fallen to the ground from the shots. Jones was brought to the University of Nebraska Medical Center, where he died. Pro-Black, a progressive Omaha-based group that advocates for racial justice, condemned the killing of Jones in a statement posted to Twitter on Friday, saying there is no probable cause for him to have been asked to exit the vehicle. And that's what we're going to ask. That's one of the questions. What was the reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime that made them want to pull him out of the car as a passenger? Now, they said they did find a gun on him. When he was shot, they found the gun underneath him. But did they see it when he was in the car, or did they see it when they were pulling him out of the car? Now, either way, I know there are people that love the police that are going to say, well, if he had a gun, he had a gun. And they, the ends don't always justify the means. If they were pulling him out and they didn't know if he had a gun or not, they just were pulling him out for whatever reason, whether or not he ended up having a gun and ended up having to be shot by police, they were still violating his Fourth Amendment rights if he was not a suspect in a crime. If only the driver had committed a crime, i.e. a moving violation or whatever reason he was pulled over for, that passenger, there was no reason to pull that passenger out. So they need to say what the crime was. What was the probable cause to pull him, a passenger who was not driving, and he did not commit a traffic violation, out of the car? That's the real question, and that's what Pro-Black is saying here. People gathered outside the Omaha police headquarters on Friday and Saturday night to protest Jones' killing. Peyton Zyla, an organizer with Pro-Black, told the Omaha World Herald that until police prove that they didn't murder a black man, we're not shutting up, not one bit. Police declared both protests unlawful assemblies. On Friday, they arrested a protester for assault of an officer after he allegedly shined a laser light on an officer's face, and they said they made similar arrests for assault on Saturday. Protesters told the Omaha World Herald they had to go to the hospital after being maced and struck by police. So there's a lot of questions here. They're not releasing the body camera footage. Even NBC News has said they haven't seen the body camera footage of what actually happened. They're holding it back, pending an outcome of an investigation here. I'm sure that when the investigation's over, at some point they're going to release it. I mean, probably they're going to be politically pressured into releasing it, I'm sure. But there are a lot of questions here. The biggest question of all, which I've addressed, why did they pull a passenger out of the vehicle? And question 2, did they shoot him because he had the gun, or did they shoot him? They said he was struggling. They were struggling to get him out of the car. But did they just shoot him because he had the gun or because he was reaching for it? A lot of questions here. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, this and that and the other, and they're going to back the cops on this. But I'm not going to say the cops are wrong. But I'm not going to say the cops are right either yet until we know exactly what happened here. But if he was pulling that gun out of his pants and struggling with the police, he pretty much put himself in that situation. But back to square one. Why were they even pulling a passenger out of the car? We need to know. They're not saying here. There's a couple other news stories. They're not saying. Nobody's saying. Community Leo Watch. Watching Leos, that's law enforcement officers, to include Omaha cops that pull passengers out of cars from coast to coast.